Right, happy New Year everybody. It's good to be back.
Yeah.
We've been, Mark and I have been working on clearing the community house at number 16, and we've been, I've been going through the books and I've been going through the books and things that we found there and things that have been the go part. I found this Eddie Stobart story. It's a good book. It's got read it before, and that it's been apparently been made into a film. I haven't seen that, but I've seen the trailer. So anyway, John chapter 1, verses 35 to 42. Jesus calls the first disciples. So I'm on that, isn't it? Of course, yes. Again the next day, John stood with two of his disciples, and looking at Jesus as he walked, he said, "Behold, the Lamb of God." The two disciples heard him speak and followed Jesus. Then Jesus turned and seeing them following, said to them, "What do you seek?" And they said to him, "Rabbi," which is to say, when translated, "Teacher, where are you staying?" He said to them, "Come and see." They came and saw where he was staying and remained with him that day. Now it was about the 10th hour. One of the two who heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, "We've found the Messiah," which is translated the Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. Now when Jesus looked at him, he said, "You are Simon, the son of Jonah. You shall be called Cephas," which is translated a stone. Thanks be to God. This is the gospel reading. Right, so John is there with two of his disciples. So we've got the disciples of John. The people have all decided to follow John because he's talking about God, and he's and John, the Gospel of John writer, who is in fact one of the people who was there and was being pointed to Jesus by John the Baptist, is at pains looking back. Many years later we're writing this. It's not a contemporary account. This is the first three Gospels were written at the time, and this is a look back, sort of at least 60 years later. And John, the Gospel of John writer, is then an old man, and people around him have said basically, look, you've got to get this stuff down. You're the last man standing, the other best. The last man who we know who was there for these things. So you've got to write down your story, which is Eddie Stobart before he died, and John has got to write down his story and what happened. And John is sort of writing in Greek and sensible, and he's not using allegory, he's not using stuff. Allegory is when any other Gospels where they're the Jewish and they're sort of going things like when Jesus turned around and says, "Look, deal with," to the guy who's trying to sort out a speck in one eye, and said, "Look, deal with the guy with the plank in his own eye." You know, he hadn't literally got a plank sticking out of his eye because he could be dead. But so that's allegory. It's something which makes a point, but which isn't literally true. That John is basically he's more factual, so we like him. He's our sort of God, and we understand him, and he's also doesn't feel the need to repeat stuff often. So when he repeats stuff, you know it's important. So if we looked back to verse 29, the previous bit last week, said the next day John saw Jesus coming towards him and said, "Behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world." And here, at the start of this passage, again the next day, John stood with his disciples, looked at Jesus and said, "Behold, the Lamb of God." So this is important, and it's important because obviously, Jesus is the Lamb of God, but it's important for John, the Gospel writer, to deal with the errors that have developed over the sort of 60 plus years intervening between Jesus' ministry and when John is writing his Gospel. And there's lots of errors coming, including people who are still following John the Baptist. Now, what he's saying is he's going to great pains for John to show John the Baptist pointing people to Jesus. Now, he's basically walking around with a big t-shirt that says, "Don't follow me, follow Jesus." You know, he'd have the Tradecraft t-shirt, "Don't follow me, follow Jesus." He'd have that. Because when you get down previously, verse 27, he's saying, "Look, he who comes after me is preferred before me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to unloose." Now, when you're talking to people who, in this first century, basically, you all walked around on dusty roads, and there was ox and donkey carts and what have you, transporting goods between the villages and the towns. And there weren't that many donkey services where they could all go to the toilet on the way down the M1 between Jerusalem and wherever and that. So basically they went on the road, and then people came along afterwards with their open-toed sandals and they walked in it. And so basically what John is saying, and the first century people would immediately have understood, is saying, look, this guy, don't follow me. This guy, I am not worthy to bend down and scrape the shit off his shoes. He's that much better than me. This is infinitely better. This is the biggest gap that John could put between himself and Jesus. He's trying to put some distance between himself and Jesus. Not because he doesn't like him, because he loves him, but he's trying to say, look, you know, this is the guy to follow, not me. Don't look at me, follow him. So we've got don't look at me, follow him. This is the revelation. Behold the revelation. 6th of January, Epiphany, when we reckon that, popularly reckoned that the wise men showed up at a certain stable to view the infant, for the infant Jesus to be revealed to them. So it's all about this. It's all about reveal. Now, my stepson Alex and his wife Ada, they're having another baby, and they did the old scan to determine the sex of the child, and then did the big reveal to the children with the old thing, and that's the big reveal for that family. But this is the big reveal for John's disciples, because when we're talking about the disciples, John stood with 2 of his disciples. So John, who went on to write the gospel, was a disciple of John. He was there. This is him telling what he remembers. And he is clearly pointing there. Look, okay, don't throw in front of Jesus. So Jesus turned, seeing the followers, and said, "What do you seek?" And people have lots of reasons for following Jesus. What do you seek when you follow Jesus? Do you seek love? Plenty of that. Security? There's loads of that. Safety? God will protect you, yes. You seek safety. You seek comfort in our distress at times when we come to him because of crisis or bereavement or something. Sadly, some people came to him for reasons that weren't so good. Power, prestige, and even now there are people who can come to him for a career, because you can get a career out of Jesus and becoming a minister in the established church or something like that. I mean it is, guys, and popular to say that man will get from the neck up and stuff like that, and they like doing wood if in my block of wood down there, sort of thing. But yeah, the people have come to Jesus for power, for prestige, and tele-evangelist types, and also to make a career and a living out of it. But that's not what we come for. And people come for love, security, safety, and comfort, and to find life and fellowship. So, 2 disciples heard him speak, and they turned to follow Jesus. They were, if you looked at the bit of the account in Matthew 4, Jesus walking by the Sea of Galilee saw brothers Simon, Peter and Andrew and his brother casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. I don't know why else they'd be casting a net into the sea, unless they were Spanish, casting nets upon the waters and all that. "Follow me, and and I will make you fishers of men. They immediately left their nets and followed him. So there wasn't any delay in this. There wasn't any delay because, we pointed to Jesus. They were pointed to Jesus, and then there was immediately the following of Jesus. Any delay? Are we delaying following Jesus ourselves in any way because we've been pointed to it, we know this stuff, but we're delaying, and then they left their nets behind. They didn't stop to put them. They decided they weren't going to be physical fishermen anymore. They were going off to follow Jesus and what have you. It was so important a thing that they left their nets. They didn't stop to list them on eBay to get a few shekels for them first, or to go down there and say, "No, mate, do I like this? I'm going off. I'm not fishing anymore." They left their nets behind to follow Jesus, and going like. More question we asked ourselves this morning would be, what do we need to leave behind to follow Jesus? What do we need to leave behind? And we look, and they're following Jesus. This, when you research it, by the way, is expected to be the third day of Jesus' ministry, because he's started to get baptised and Spirit fell on him and stuff. And this is reckoned to be the third day. And I don't know whether that's really important, but God seems to be into numbers, and I think it seems to be number 3. So, in verses 14 and 41, one of the two who heard John speak and followed him, Jesus, was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," which is translated as the Christ. The excitement in his voice there, you can just sort of picture it. Mate, come on, we found the Messiah. It doesn't get more important than that, but this is immediate. This is another immediately. He first, and if you looked in the translation, immediately, it's his brother. So he's demonstrating the change in himself because he has turned to follow Jesus, and now he has turned himself into Jesus. And bless you, and he is off doing that. So then we've got Simon, and he brought into Jesus. So he's the thing, and he's brought into Jesus, and it's this thing, Simon, son of Jonah, which doesn't mean he was in Wales. And he said, "You are Simon, son of Jonah," said Jesus. Now this is not cold reading. This is not some trickery. This is God in human form. He knows him, and he's looking at him deep, and he knows him. He says, "Look, you are Simon, son of Jonah. You will be called Cephas, or Dwayne Johnson, the Rock. You're going to be called the Rock." And doesn't mean he's going to get a big gun and a fast chariot, but it's basically going to be called the Rock. Rocksteady Eddie. Back to Eddie. And this is the first virtue name. This is the first time in the Bible, the Gospel, that somebody's given and spoken over them an attribute that they're not. Because this guy is headstrong, he's impulsive, he's reactionary, and this basically is going, "You're going to be Rocksteady, Eddie, that I can found a church with, the first Pope, And then when you look at Matthew 16, sorry I haven't getting you to find that. Matthew 16 and 22, 23, and basically Peter confesses Jesus is the Christ. And Jesus is talking about his own death and resurrection and suffering, and how he's going to be killed and raised to life on the third day coming in again, obviously there. Peter took him aside, began to remonstrate with him, rebuked him and said, "Far be it from the but did it, Lord, this shall not ever happen to you." And then Jesus turns around and goes, "Get behind me, Satan." And I listening to that. This is not, I've got a mission. I'm going to complete it. You're not going to turn your own mission. And this is this headstrong, impulsive, reactionary. He loves him by this point, and he's going to get behind me, Satan. But he's basically, Jesus has chosen him and picked him for this job based on who he could be, not who he is. the ladies at the time. Now, because when you look forward, and I have no idea, right forward in Johns, I have no idea, when Rachel was going for, I have no idea whose slunter I'm stealing at this point, could have, you know. But I've got to get set again, because you forget I've said it. John 21, verse 3, Simon, it is basically, Jesus is done. And then it's been put in the tomb, and the disciples are, okay, after breakfast, right. Right, lads, I'm paraphrasing here, obviously. Right, lads, I'm going fishing. So he's gone, in his humanness, he's gone straight back to what he knows, right? So he's probably getting rid of the nets. He probably, if he left them in the old house or whatever, or left them with a mate, he's gone back, found the nets, and he's off fishing again. So he's gone back to his comfort zone, and he's falling back to what he knows. Now we can do that, and it's a bit of a crisis, can't we? We can fall back to what we know, go to our comfort zone, our little safe place, and our whatever. But God is saying, look, hang on, you know, hold on. You've got the Messiah, you've got the Christ, you've got all the safety and security that you're ever going to need. Now, it's that just eat moment again, isn't it? You know, it's the takeaway. What's the takeaway today? I think it's pizza. We've got, behold, the Lamb of God. The Lamb of God revealed to us. The Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. And then it's, what do we need to leave behind to follow the Lamb of God? What do we need to leave behind? And then we've got the recurring word that comes up in this so much. It comes up immediately. It comes up immediately. We have to follow the Lamb of God. We need to find out what we need to leave behind. And then we need to do it immediately without any more delay. Amen.